Welcome to this explainer. So, picture this. It's a random Sunday afternoon, you're scrolling through your feed and boom, you see one of those posts. You know the exact ones I'm talking about, right? How I became a millionaire in 18 months, or turn $1,000 into $1 million with this one simple trick. And just for a split second, you probably think to yourself, wait, am I missing something here? Because let's be real, you work hard, you make a decent income. But when you log in and look at your bank account, yeah, it definitely doesn't scream millionaire progress. It is incredibly frustrating. You kind of start to wonder if building wealth is actually possible for normal people, or if literally everyone online is just exaggerating. Well, today we're cutting through all that noise. We're going to break down a realistic, actionable, 5-year plan to build genuine wealth.
Okay, let's dive into this because a lot of the financial advice you see online falls into two wildly unhelpful extremes. On one side, you've got the get-rich-quick crowd. Think of them like a speedboat crashing through the waves. These are the day trading systems and drop-shipping hacks promising you'll be chilling on a yacht in 6 months. No thanks. But then, on the flip side, you have the get-rich-slow advice. That's the empty desert highway. It's this super slow, ultra-conservative approach that basically says, hey, just invest quietly for 40 years and maybe, just maybe, you'll be comfortable when you're 65. Neither of those answers is very satisfying, right? But here's what most people totally miss. Building real wealth doesn't get 40 years, and it definitely doesn't happen in 6 months. But 5 years? 5 years is the perfect middle ground. It is actually enough time to completely change your financial life if you just focus on the right things. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to look at the wealth advice trap, why saving alone just isn't enough, and then we'll hit our 3 core steps: increasing income, beating lifestyle inflation, and investing consistently. Finally, we'll tie the whole shebang together with financial momentum. Let's get into it.
Section 1. The Wealth Advice Trap and Breaking Free from Online Extremes.
Moving right along to Section 2. Saving alone isn't enough. I like to call this the teaspoon and the swimming pool.
Look, if you're experiencing massive scrolling fatigue from all those crypto bros pushing their secret strategies, believe me, you are not alone. But that flashy version just doesn't work for most of us. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Saving money is absolutely crucial, yes, but relying on saving alone? It's literally like trying to fill a swimming pool using a teaspoon. It's exhausting, it takes forever, and honestly, you're probably going to give up before you see any real progress. To put that into perspective, let's look at what the average person is actually dealing with out there. According to data from the Federal Reserve, nearly 40% of Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency without going into debt. 40%! That's a staggering statistic. It means that if you're managing to save even $300 a month, you are already doing incredibly well. You're putting yourself way ahead of the pack. But, and this is a big but, just being ahead of the pack doesn't automatically mean you are building life-changing wealth.
Now, what's really interesting here is the math behind that $300 a month. Let's break it down over our 5-year timeline. $300 a month equals $3,600 a year. Multiply that by 5, and you've got $18,000 saved. Now, even if you took that money, invested it, and earned a really solid 8% annual return, you'd end up with roughly $21,000 to $22,000. And hey, don't get me wrong, having 22 grand is fantastic. It's an incredible safety net. But let's be totally honest with ourselves. It isn't exactly life-changing wealth, is it? It's not the kind of momentum that completely alters the trajectory of your life.
And that brings us to the actual solution. Step 1, increase your income, or as I like to say, upgrading your financial engine.
Think of your income like the engine of a car. If you've got a tiny engine, well, no amount of clever steering, strict budgeting, or extreme coupon clipping is going to make that car go fast. You simply need more horsepower. When you increase your income, suddenly everything else gets easier. Saving is easier, investing is easier, paying off debt, way easier. You really need to internalize this core philosophy. Early in your financial journey, your most powerful asset is absolutely not your savings account. It's your earning ability. The biggest driver of wealth in your first 5 years is not going to be your investment returns. It is going to be your income growth.
Let's compare 2 friends starting in the exact same spot. Person A earns $3,000 a month and diligently saves a solid 10% of their income, so $300 a month. Good for them. But Person B decides to spend their first couple of years deeply focused on improving their skills, negotiating raises, maybe building up a side hustle, and they manage to push their income up to $5,000 a month. Now, Person B also saves that exact same 10%. They haven't had to drastically slash their lifestyle or eat ramen every night, but that 10% is now $500 a month. Over 5 years, that difference alone adds up to $12,000 more in savings. And if that income gap keeps growing, the difference becomes absolutely massive. Now, I know exactly what you might be thinking. If it were that easy, everyone would do it. And you know what? You're right. Income growth doesn't just happen magically overnight. But people vastly underestimate what they can actually achieve in 60 months. 5 years is plenty of time to execute on these strategies. You can learn a highly valuable skill. You can change careers entirely. You can start a side business or negotiate multiple raises. In fact, data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that workers who switch jobs often see a 10 to 20% bump in their salary on average. Think about that. Do that twice in 5 years, and your income engine is going to look completely different.
Which leads us to step 2. Beat lifestyle inflation and protect your progress.
Okay, so you got the raise. Awesome. But why does your bank account stay exactly the same? Well, because you get that new money and suddenly you decide to upgrade your apartment. You buy a nicer car. Maybe you develop a taste for expensive sushi. Your new money is flying out the door literally just as fast as it comes in. And this brilliantly illustrates a psychological trap called hedonic adaptation. Your brain is hardwired to quickly get used to lifestyle upgrades. That brand new car you just financed? Oh, it feels amazing for about 3 months. But then it just becomes your normal car. And suddenly you're looking around wanting the next big upgrade. It is a psychological trap that absolutely kills wealth building.
So how on earth do we beat our own brains here? We split it 50-50. It's that simple. Every single time your income increases, you automatically invest at least half of that new raise. So if your income goes up by $1,000 a month, 500 of that is automatically routed to investments before you even see it in your checking account. The other 50%, you are completely free to enjoy it. Upgrade your life a little bit, go on that vacation, buy the nice coffee. This 50-50 split strikes the perfect balance. It lets you enjoy the fruits of your labor while stopping lifestyle inflation from silently stealing your 5-year progress.
All right, once you've secured that savings rate, we arrive at step 3. Invest consistently and put your money to work.
Those hard-earned dollars you're saving, they need a job. You can't just leave them sitting under a mattress. Historically, one of the absolute most reliable tools for long-term wealth has been broad market investing. For example, let's look at the S&P 500. Over the last century, it has returned roughly 10% annually, on average. Now, quick caveat, it's vital to remember that markets fluctuate in the short term. There will be down years for sure. But over longer periods, consistent investing in the broad market has been one of the absolute most effective wealth-building strategies available to the everyday person. Let's look at how this actually plays out over our 5-year window. Let's say you've increased your income, you've controlled your lifestyle inflation with the 50-50 rule, and you are now able to invest $1,000 a month. Over 5 years, that disciplined $1,000 monthly contribution equals $60,000 of your own hard cash invested. But factor in moderate market growth over that exact same period, that total easily leaps to $70,000 or even more. You have now built a serious, concrete foundation for long-term compounding.
Which brings us to our final phase, building your financial momentum. This is the acceleration phase.
So what most people don't realize is that the real magic isn't actually just what happens in these first 5 years. It's the momentum you generate. Let me tell you about a friend of mine. He spent his early 20s constantly stressed about money, just spinning his wheels. But then he made a single, firm decision. For 5 years, he would do nothing but increase his income, avoid lifestyle inflation, and invest consistently. Nothing flashy at all. 5 years later, he had over $80,000 invested and his income had entirely doubled. So the crucial point here is this. The next 5 years for him are going to move dramatically faster because of the massive foundation he built. Wealth does not come from one brilliant, lucky decision. Actually, scratch that. It rarely comes from luck. It comes from hundreds of small, unflashy decisions repeated consistently over time. Compounding momentum is the real secret here.
Let's wrap this up and look at the summary of our roadmap. Step 1. Focus on increasing your income. It is your most powerful asset right now. Step 2. Protect yourself from lifestyle inflation by saving at least half of every single raise you get. Step 3. Invest consistently in long-term, broad market assets. And Step 4. Stay the course for 5 full years. Give it time to work. 5 years from now is going to arrive whether you prepare for it or not. The time is going to pass anyway. The only question is what your financial life is going to look like when it gets here. Are you still going to feel stuck, or will you have built the kind of momentum that makes the next decade completely different? Sometimes the only difference between staying broke and building real wealth is simply choosing a better strategy and then actually giving it the time to work. So, I'll leave you with this one question. Where do you want your finances to be 5 years from today? Because that future, it starts with the decisions you make right now.
Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.